I never thought betrayal could sound like the ding of a phone notification. But that's exactly how my world collapsed one harmless chime in the middle of the night. It was close to midnight, and I was already in bed, scrolling absent-mindedly through social media while my boyfriend, Daniel, was in the shower. We had been together for nearly 3 years, and in that time, I thought I had come to know every corner of him. The way his left eye squinted more than the right when he laughed, how he always hummed under his breath when cooking pasta, the way he never forgot to kiss my forehead before leaving for work. He was the man I pictured building a future with, but then his phone lit up on the nightstand. At first, I ignored it. Daniel wasn't secretive with his phone, and I had never been the snooping type. But something about the message preview caught my attention. It wasn't a person's name, it was the name of a bank. And the preview read, "Your transfer of $1,800 has been processed successfully." My stomach tightened. Daniel never mentioned sending money anywhere. Rent, bills, groceries was split everything evenly. He didn't owe anyone money, at least not that I knew of. Before I could overthink, curiosity pushed me to unlock his phone. The passcode wasn't a problem, I knew it, just as he knew mine. When I opened the banking app, my breath caught in my throat. There wasn't just one transfer. There were dozens. Every single month for the past 2 years, Daniel had been transferring money, always around $1,800 to the same account. And the account name froze me in place. Melissa Harper, his ex. Melissa wasn't just some random fling. She was the ex, the one he had dated for nearly 5 years before me, the one who had broken his heart so badly he claimed he would never go back there again. I had always been slightly insecure about her, not because of anything Daniel did, but because I knew what kind of history they shared. Deep history. The kind you don't just erase, and yet. While he was building a life with me, he had been secretly paying her rent. My hands shook as I scrolled through the transactions, each one like a stab in my chest. 2 years. That meant he had been doing this almost the entire time we'd been together. The shower shut off. Panic surged through me, and I quickly put the phone back where it was. My heart was racing so fast it felt like it might burst. When Daniel walked out, towel around his waist, water dripping from his hair, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe. Still up?" I couldn't even respond at first. My throat was dry, my mind a whirlwind. Finally, the words tumbled out before I could stop them. "Why have you been sending money to Melissa?" The color drained from his face instantly. His smile disappeared, and for the first time in our relationship, I saw real panic flicker in his eyes. What?" he stammered. I crossed my arms tightly over my chest. "Don't play dumb with me. I saw the bank notifications. You've been paying her rent every month for 2 years. Do you think I'm stupid?" He froze, gripping the towel at his waist like it was the only thing anchoring him. "It's not what you think." That phrase. God, how I hated it instantly. The coward's excuse, the cheater's anthem. My chest burned. "Not what I think. You've been sending your ex almost $2,000 every month and keeping it from me. What the hell am I supposed to think, Daniel? That you're just being charitable?" His jaw tightened. His eyes darted away from mine, like he couldn't stand the weight of my stare. "She needed help. That's all." "Help?" I spat the word like it was poison. "And it never occurred to you to tell me? To be honest with the woman you claim to love?" "Daniel, this isn't help, this is betrayal." He stepped forward, desperation in his expression. "No, it's not like that. I swear. I've never cheated on you. I've never even touched her since we broke up. It's complicated." I laughed bitterly, the sound ugly even to my own ears. "Complicated? Try me." He ran a hand through his wet hair, pacing the room like a trapped animal. "She was going through a rough time when we broke up. She couldn't afford her place, and she had nowhere else to go. I couldn't let her end up on the street." "And that became your problem, why?" I demanded. "You broke up. You moved on. You don't owe her anything, Daniel." "Nothing." His voice cracked when he said, "I couldn't just abandon her. Something in me snapped. But you could abandon me? You could lie to me for 2 years, every single month, while I thought we were building a life together? Silence. He didn't answer. He just stood there, dripping water onto the carpet, looking at me with eyes full of guilt and fear and something else I couldn't even name, and that's when I knew. Whatever excuse he had, whatever story he was about to spin, I couldn't hear it. I wouldn't let him worm his way back into my trust. I grabbed my pillow from the bed and stormed out. We're done, Daniel. Don't bother calling me. Ever. His voice followed me down the hallway, desperate and broken. Please, just listen. It's not what you think. But I didn't look back. That was the night everything shattered. For days, he bombarded me with messages, texts, voicemails, emails, all begging me to let him explain. I deleted them all without reading. My friends were furious on my behalf, insisting he had to be cheating, that there was no other explanation. And I wanted to believe them, because that was easier than entertaining the tiny, nagging voice in my head that wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was more to the story. But my sister. Oh, my sister was the one who complicated everything. She told me I owed it to myself to at least hear him out. That shutting him down without giving him a chance to explain might leave me with questions that would eat at me forever. At first, I refused. But then 3 weeks passed. 3 long, agonizing weeks of silence. And in that silence, my curiosity grew louder. Finally, I gave in. I agreed to meet him, and that's when I discovered the truth that turned everything upside down. I chose the cafe deliberately. Neutral ground. Not too loud, not too intimate. A place where I could walk out at any second if I felt myself weakening. When I got there, Daniel was already waiting. He looked awful, dark circles under his eyes, hair a mess, his shirt wrinkled like he hadn't bothered ironing it. This wasn't the man I remembered, confident, put together, charming. This was someone unraveling. He stood the second he saw me, but I didn't hug him. I slid into the chair opposite and folded my arms tightly. Talk. For a moment, he just looked at me, his lips parting as if the words were stuck. Then he finally spoke. She has a son. The words hit me like a brick. Excuse me? Daniel swallowed hard. Melissa. She had a baby. About 2 years ago. My head spun. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And why exactly is that your problem? His gaze dropped to the table, shame clouding his face. Because there's a chancino, more than a chance that the kid is mine. I felt my blood run cold. The cafe around me blurred into meaningless noise, the clink of mugs, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of strangers. All of it faded beneath the thunder in my ears. You're telling me, I said slowly, that while we've been together, while you've been building a life with me, your ex has been raising your child behind my back? He winced at the venom in my tone. I don't know if he's mine. She told me after we broke up. Said she wasn't sure who the father was, but the timeline made sense. I couldn't risk leaving them with nothing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the coffee mug at his face. But I forced myself to stay calm, because I knew that the people at the surrounding tables were already glancing over. So instead of telling me, I said, voice icy, you just funnel money to her in secret. Every month. For years. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me? I leaned forward, fury tightening my chest. Do you even hear yourself? You weren't protecting me, Daniel. You were protecting yourself. You didn't want to lose me, so you lied. You wanted to play house with me while quietly supporting your maybe baby with her. His eyes shone with desperation. I swear, it's not like that. I never touched her again. I never wanted her back. I couldn't let them go under. My voice cracked. Do you have any idea what it feels like to know that another woman, your ex, of all people, had this huge piece of you that I never knew existed? That she has a child who might be yours while I've been here. Blind, thinking we were building toward our family someday? He reached across the table, but I recoiled. His hand hung in the air before he withdrew it, defeated. What do you want me to do? He asked quietly. First, I said, you're going to get a DNA test. If the kid is yours, then at least I'll know the truth. If he's not, then you'll cut her off. Permanently. No more lies. He nodded quickly, almost pathetically eager. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. I'll prove to you that I wasn't cheating. I never cheated, not once. But the damage was already done. Even as I sat there, staring into the eyes of the man I thought I'd spend forever with, I couldn't shake the hollow ache in my chest. Because whether or not the child was his, I knew one thing for certain: the trust was gone. Still, some part of meth part that hated unfinished stories needed to know the truth, and that was how I found myself, a week later, standing in a small clinic waiting room with Daniel by my side. The DNA test took minutes. A swab of the cheek, a sterile envelope, a few signatures. But the waiting? That was torture. 2 weeks stretched out like an eternity. Every day, I wrestled with questions that had no easy answers. What if the boy was his? Could I live with that? Could I ever look at him, at the child, and not see betrayal written into his tiny features? And what if he wasn't? Would that erase the lies, the secrecy, the late-night transfers? Would that magically rebuild the trust he had shattered? At night, I lay awake replaying every moment of our relationship. Every time he was late. Every vague excuse. Every time he said, "Don't worry about it." And all I saw was the outline of a man I didn't recognize anymore. Meanwhile, Daniel tried everything to win me back. Flowers. Voicemails. Long, rambling emails about how much I meant to him. But none of it worked. He couldn't buy back trust, not with roses or desperate promises. Still, I waited for the results. Because as much as I wanted to hate him completely, I couldn't walk away from the truth. Finally, the call came. The clinic asked us both to come in. The boy was his son. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. The moment the words left the nurse's lips, the air rushed from my lungs. My chest collapsed in on itself, and I felt the room tilt. Daniel's hand shot out to steady me, but I jerked away. He looked broken-hearted as he whispered, "I'm sorry. Sorry." As if that word could fix the fact that while I was dreaming of a future with him, he had been living a double life, funding a secret family. On the drive home, I said nothing. My silence was heavier than any shouting match could have been, but inside, my mind was racing with a single, terrifying thought: if Melissa had his child. What did that mean for me? For us? And then another thought, darker still: why had Melissa stayed silent all this time? Why had she accepted the money but never demanded more? No custody. No child support filings, no confrontation. What was she hiding? That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my thoughts spiraling, and then I made a decision. If Daniel wouldn't give me the whole truth, I'd get it myself. The next morning, I drove to Melissa's apartment. When she opened the door, baby on her hip, her eyes widened in shock. For a moment, she didn't speak. Neither did I. We just stared at each other, two women tied to the same man, two lives colliding in ways neither of us had wanted. Finally, I broke the silence. We need to talk. Melissa's apartment smelled faintly of baby powder and old coffee. The kind of scent that clung to everything, like exhaustion itself had soaked into the walls. She shifted uncomfortably as she stepped aside to let me in. Her son clung to her shoulder, his tiny fingers tangled in her hair. My chest tightened involuntarily. He had Daniel's eyes. There was no denying it now. We sat at her small dining table, the baby nestled against her as she rocked him gently. Melissa's gaze was wary, guarded. "I know why you're here," she said finally. Her voice was softer than I expected, tired but not hostile. "Then you know I want answers," I replied. My tone was sharp, but my hands trembled under the table. Melissa sighed, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Look. I never wanted things to be like this. I didn't plan any of it. But when I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. Daniel and I had already ended things, and I didn't even know for sure if the baby was his. But I couldn't do it alone. I needed help. So you went to him," I said bitterly. "Yes. And he gave it. She looked at me with something almost like guilt in her eyes. I know it hurt you. I'm not blind. But he was trying to do the right thing. Maybe not in the right way, but he wanted to make sure his son didn't suffer. Her son. That phrase stung like a blade. And why didn't you push for child support through the courts? I demanded. Why hide? Why keep it secret? Melissa hesitated, her eyes darting to the baby before back to me. Because it's complicated. I let out a bitter laugh. God, you sound just like him. That's his favorite line. It's the truth. Her voice sharpened. You think I wanted to be the other woman in your story? You think I wanted to be the villain? No. I kept it quiet because Daniel begged me to. He said if you found out, he'd lose you. And I didn't want to blow up his life more than I already had. Her words sliced through me. I hated how calm she sounded, how resigned. Like she had already accepted her role in all of this. So what now? I asked, my voice trembling. He has a son. You've kept his secret. And me? I'm just supposed to. What? Forgive him? Pretend this didn't destroy everything we had? Melissa looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Pity, maybe. That's not my decision. That's yours. Her baby stirred then, letting out a small whimper. She kissed his forehead softly, and I watched the tenderness in her movements. For the first time, I realized she wasn't just my boyfriend's ex. She was a mother. A tired, struggling mother, and as much as I wanted to hate her, I couldn't, but I also couldn't forgive Daniel. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. Thanks for your honesty, I muttered, though the words tasted bitter. But this doesn't fix anything. Melissa didn't stop me when I walked to the door. She just held her son tighter, watching me leave with eyes full of something I couldn't quite name. The weeks that followed were chaos. Daniel tried to talk to me again and again, but I avoided him. I buried myself in work, in friends, in anything that kept me from collapsing under the weight of betrayal. But the problem with pain is that it doesn't stay buried. It seeps through the cracks when you least expect it. In the quiet moments, when my phone didn't buzz and the apartment felt too empty, I thought about him. About the child. About the life I thought we were building, now shattered beyond repair. And then, just as I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. One night, I came home to find an envelope slipped under my door. No name, no return address, just my name scrawled in messy handwriting. Inside was a single photograph. It was Melissa, standing outside her apartment. But she wasn't alone. She was holding her baby, yes, but Daniel was there too. His arm around her shoulders. Smiling, my heart dropped into my stomach. On the back of the photo, in the same messy handwriting, were 3 words that made my blood run cold: he's still hers. I must have stared at that photo for an hour. My brain refused to accept it, refused to process the image staring back at me. Daniel, the man who swore he had never touched Melissa again, the man who claimed he was only helping for the sake of the child, smiling like he belonged there. Like he was home. I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled so violently that the photo slipped from my fingers and fluttered to the floor. My heart was a jackhammer in my chest, the walls of my apartment suddenly closing in, and the words on the back still hers burned into my mind like a curse. Who sent this? Why? I grabbed the envelope again, scouring it for clues. No stamp. No postmark. Just my name, handwritten in a rush. Which meant it hadn't been mailed, it had been delivered. Someone had physically come to my door to drop it off. But who? My first thought was Melissa. Maybe she wanted to push me away, to stake her claim. But the look in her eyes when we spoke. No. That wasn't the look of a woman who wanted me gone. That was the look of someone too tired to fight. So who else knew? Daniel. No. That didn't make sense. He would never risk exposing himself like this. Then a thought hit me so suddenly it made me gasp. Could it be someone else? Someone I didn't even know was watching? I barely slept that night. Every creak of the apartment made me flinch. Every shadow in the hallway outside my door made me think someone was standing there, watching. By morning, I knew I couldn't ignore it. I needed answers, and the only person who could give them to me was Daniel. I showed up at his apartment unannounced. The second he opened the door, his face lit up like a starving man seeing food. "You came," he whispered, almost disbelieving. I shoved the photo into his chest. "Explain this." His smile vanished. He looked down at the picture, and the blood drained from his face. "Where did you get this?" he asked hoarsely. "Someone left it under my door last night," I snapped. "No name. No note. Just this. So I'll ask again, explain." Daniel's hands shook as he held the photo. "This isn't what it looks like." I almost laughed. "Of course it isn't. That's your favorite line, isn't it? So tell me, is it, Daniel? Why are you holding her like that? Why are you smiling like you belong there?" He dragged a hand over his face, pacing like a man on the edge of collapse. "I was there to drop off money. That's all." The baby was crying, Melissa was exhausted, and I put my arm around her. It was a moment. Nothing more. My chest burned. A moment? "Daniel, you look like you've been living a double life. And now someone wants me to see it." His head snapped up. "Wait, you said someone left this at your door?" "Yes." His jaw tightened. "Then this isn't Melissa. She'd never do this. Someone else is trying to get between us." I folded my arms. "And why would anyone bother? We're already ruined." "No," he said fiercely, stepping closer. "We're not. Not unless you let them win." I stared at him, shocked by the desperation in his voice. "Win? Daniel, this isn't some game. This is my life. My heart. And you broke it." For a moment, the room went quiet, thick with unspoken words. Then Daniel said something that chilled me to the bone. "I think someone's watching us." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. "What do you mean, watching us?" I whispered. "I mean this photo," he said, holding it up. It wasn't taken inside her apartment. "Look, see the angle? The window reflection? Someone took this from outside. Someone's been following me. Following her." My stomach dropped. He was right. The reflection in the glass showed a faint outline of a car. Whoever took the photo hadn't just stumbled on them, they had been waiting. Who would do that? I asked, my voice trembling. Daniel shook his head. "I don't know. But if they know about Melissa, if they know about the baby, then..." His voice trailed off, his eyes darkening. "Then what?" "Then this is bigger than us," he said quietly. "And I don't think they're going to stop." I left his apartment more shaken than when I'd arrived. My anger hadn't disappeared, but now it was tangled with fear. Someone out there knew everything and they wanted me to know it too. That night, I triple-checked my locks. Drew the curtains tight. Slept with the lights on. But sleep didn't come easy, because deep down, I knew this wasn't over, and I was right. The next morning, another envelope was waiting outside my door. This time, it wasn't a photo, it was a letter, and the first line made my blood run cold. "You don't know the whole story." But I do. The envelope was thin, the paper inside folded once. My hands shook as I unfolded it, my eyes darting across the words written in that same rushed, messy handwriting. "You don't know the whole story." But I do. Melissa isn't who she says she is. And Daniel isn't telling you everything. If you want the truth, meet me tomorrow night. 9 p.m. Pier 17. Come alone. My pulse hammered. My first thought was that it had to be a prank. Some sick joke from a stranger who had somehow stumbled onto my private hell. But the photono, that was real. Whoever this was, they weren't guessing. They knew things. I read the letter again, over and over, until the words blurred. Melissa isn't who she says she is. What did that even mean? She was Daniel's ex. A mother. A woman just trying to survive. What else could she be, and Daniel? God. Every time I thought the truth had finally surfaced, it turned out there was another layer. Another lie. Another secret. I spent the rest of the day spiraling. Should I tell Daniel? Should I confront Melissa? Should I just burn the letter and walk away from all of it? But deep down, I knew the answer. I'd already walked too far down this road. The only way out was through, so the next night, as the clock neared 9, I found myself standing at Pier 17. The pier was nearly deserted. Save for the sound of water slapping against the wooden posts and the faint creak of boats swaying in the dark. The air smelled of salt and rust, heavy with the kind of loneliness only the sea could carry. I wrapped my coat tighter around me, every nerve in my body on edge. "Hello?" I called softly. My voice carried farther than I expected, swallowed quickly by the night. For a moment, nothing. Just silence. Then a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was a woman. Tall, slender, her face obscured by the hood of her sweatshirt. She moved with a kind of practiced caution, like someone used to not being seen. "You came," she said, her voice low, almost hoarse. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Why are you sending me this? What do you want?" She glanced around before stepping closer. The dim light from a nearby lamppost caught her face just enough for me to see sharp cheekbones, dark eyes. "A stranger, my name doesn't matter," she said. "What matters is that you're being lied to." My throat tightened. "By Daniel?" Her lips curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. "By both of them." "Melissa," I shook my head, anger and confusion warring inside me. "Why should I believe you? You're some random woman sneaking around, taking pictures, slipping notes under my door. For all I know, you're the liar here." She pulled something from her pocket and held it out. "A flash drive, take this. Watch it. Then decide who's lying." I stared at it, my pulse quickening. "What's on it?" "Proof," she said simply. "But be careful. Once you see it, there's no going back." I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to walk away. To throw the flash drive into the water and never think about it again. But my hand reached out anyway. Trembling as I took it, the woman's eyes softened, almost pitying. "You deserve the truth. Even if it destroys you." And then, before I could ask another question, she melted back into the shadows and was gone. Back in my apartment, I sat staring at the flash drive for what felt like hours. My laptop waited on the desk, silent and unassuming. The little device in my hands suddenly felt heavier than it should, like it carried the weight of my entire future. Finally, I plugged it in. A single video file appeared. No label. Just a date. From 2 weeks ago. I clicked it. The footage was grainy, shot from a distance. But there was no mistaking the figures. Melissa. Her baby. And Daniel. They weren't just standing together, they were inside her apartment. Daniel was holding the baby, rocking him gently while Melissa leaned against the wall, watching with a soft smile, and then God help me saw it. Melissa stepped forward, and Daniel didn't pull away. Their lips met in a brief but unmistakable kiss. My stomach dropped. The video ended there, cutting to black. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. My body shook violently as the truth crashed over me like a wave. Daniel had lied. Again, all those desperate words. I never touched her. I never wanted her back. Lies, and Melissa, with her weary eyes and pitying smile, she had lied too. She made me believe she was just surviving, just trying to raise her child. But she hadn't let him go. She still had him. I pressed my hands to my face, tears hot against my skin. My heart screamed in betrayal, but another voice whispered darker thoughts. Who was that woman? Why was she watching? And how did she get that footage? Was she just a messenger, or was she part of something bigger? Because if this was true, then my story wasn't just about betrayal anymore, it was about danger. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw an image burned into my skull. Daniel holding the baby. Melissa watching with that soft, familiar smile. And then the kiss. Quick, fleeting, but undeniable. I wanted to scream. To smash something. To tear every photograph of us into shreds. But instead, I sat frozen at my desk, the glow of the laptop still faint in the dark room. Was this real? Was it doctored? Could someone have staged it? No. My gut knew the truth. It was real. The only question was why. Why would Daniel keep lying when the evidence was so damning? Why would Melissa pretend she was the selfless, struggling mother while secretly clinging to him? And who the hell was the hooded woman, slipping evidence into my hands like some twisted guardian angel? By sunrise, my decision was made. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to confront him. When Daniel opened the door, he looked hopeful at first. But his expression faltered when he saw the rage in my eyes. I didn't wait for pleasantries. I shoved the laptop into his hands and hit play. His face went white. He watched in silence as the grainy footage played, his mouth working soundlessly. When the screen went black, I snapped it shut. Explain, I hissed. It's not what it looks like, he started. I laughed bitterly, the sound jagged and raw. Don't you dare. Don't you dare say those words to me again. Daniel dragged his hands down his face, pacing frantically. Melissa kissed me. I didn't want it. I didn't ask for it. It just happened. Then why didn't you push her away? I snapped. Why didn't you leave the second it happened? He stopped pacing, his shoulders slumping. Because. For a second, I didn't want to. The air left my lungs. I staggered back as if he'd struck me. You. What? I whispered, his eyes filled with tears. I'm not in love with her. I swear. But she's the mother of my son, and sometimes it feels like we're still tied together in ways I can't control. It was a mistake. One moment. That's all. My throat burned. Do you hear yourself? You didn't want to stop because some part of you still wants her. And you expect me to believe you're committed to me? I am. He shouted, desperation cracking his voice. I love you. You're the one I want a future with. Not her. Never her. Please, you have to believe me. I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. I don't have to do anything. And I left before he could say another word. Back at my apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, sobbing until my chest ached. My phone buzzed endlessly with his messages, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I opened the envelope again, staring at the handwriting. That woman had known. She had warned me, which meant she wasn't done. As if on cue, another buzz came not from Daniel, but from an unknown number. Unknown. Did you watch it? My blood turned to ice. I typed back with trembling fingers. Me. Who are you? 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Finally, unknown. Someone who wants you to know the truth. Me. Why are you doing this? A pause. Unknown. Because you're in danger. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Me. From who? The reply came fast. Unknown. From both of them. I stared at the screen, my pulse thundering in my ears. Melissa. Daniel. Both of them, and just like that, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't about betrayal anymore. This was about survival. I stared at the message until the words blurred. From both of them, my mind raced. It didn't make sense. Daniel was a liar, yes, maybe even a cheater but dangerous. And Melissa? She was exhausted, pitiful, clinging to survival. How could either of them be a threat to me? I typed back, fingers trembling. Me. Explain. What do you mean danger? The reply came almost instantly. Unknown. Meet me again. Same place. Tomorrow night. I'll show you. I clenched the phone. My instinct screamed at me to delete the messages, to cut myself free from this entire nightmare. But another part of meth part that had already dug too deep knew I couldn't stop now. I needed answers. The next day crawled by in a haze of anxiety. At work, I barely heard my colleagues. My mind was stuck in loops. Melissa's weary eyes, Daniel's desperate voice, the video replaying again and again. And always, that final kiss. By evening, I was pacing my apartment, glancing at the clock every few minutes. 9 p.m. couldn't come fast enough, yet I dreaded it more than anything. Finally, I drove to Pier 17. This time, the woman was already there, standing under the lamppost, her hood pulled low. She looked like a shadow carved out of the night. "You came," she said. "I want answers," I shot back. "And you'd better make them good." She studied me for a moment, then handed me another envelope. Inside. "But I'll warn you, it won't make you feel better." My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside were more photographs. The first showed Daniel and Melissa again, this time sitting at a kitchen table. Papers spread out between them. The second photo zoomed closer. Bank statements. My stomach lurched as I recognized Daniel's account numbers. The third? A shot of Melissa holding up what looked like a birth certificate. Daniel was pointing at it, smiling. My vision tunneled. "They're planning something," the woman said quietly. "Something that involves you." I looked up sharply. "What do you mean? What could they possibly want from me?" She hesitated, then leaned closer. Her voice was almost a whisper. "Money. Your money. And maybe more." I laughed bitterly, though my throat was raw. "That makes no sense. I don't have anything. I live paycheck to paycheck. What could they possibly gain from me?" Her eyes flickered with something hesitation, or maybe pity. "You're not listening. It's not just about money. It's about removing obstacles. And right now? You're the obstacle." My blood ran cold. "Why are you helping me?" I asked, my voice breaking. The woman pulled her hood tighter. "Because I know what Melissa's capable of. I've seen it before. And if you don't get out now, you're going to learn the hard way." Before I could demand more, she stepped back, melting into the shadows like last time. Within seconds, she was gone, leaving me clutching the photos, my heart pounding with a new kind of fear. Back home, I spread the photos on my kitchen table. The papers between Daniel and Melissa were impossible to read from the blurry angle, but I recognized the shape of the forms. Legal documents, custody papers. My breath caught. They weren't just tied together by the child. They were actively planning something together. And if that hooded woman was right, if I was truly the obstacle, then what did that mean for me? My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Daniel, please, can we talk? I need you." I stared at it, bile rising in my throat. Did he need me, or did he need me out of the way? That night, I dreamed of the baby. Only this time, it wasn't Melissa holding him. It was me. Daniel stood beside me, smiling. But when I looked closer, his smile twisted into something cruel. And Melissa stood in the corner, whispering words I couldn't hear. I woke drenched in sweat, my heart racing, and when I stumbled to the kitchen, I froze. Because there, on my table, was a new photograph. I hadn't left it there. This one was of me, asleep in my bed, my scream caught in my throat, coming out as a strangled gasp. I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair as I stared at the photo on the table. Me. In my bed. Last night, the sheets were pulled up to my chin, my hair sprawled across the pillow. Mouth slightly open in sleep. The angle, oh God, the angle meant someone had been standing in my room. Inches away from me, I dropped the photo like it burned my hands, my whole body trembling violently. Whoever this woman was, she wasn't just watching Daniel and Melissa. She was watching me. Inside my apartment, I ran to my bedroom, flinging open the closet, checking under the bed, yanking open drawers like a madwoman. Nothing. No one. But the air felt tainted, like her presence still lingered. The locks. I had to check the locks. Front door secure. Windows latched, so how the hell had she gotten in? I sank against the wall, sobbing quietly, clutching my knees to my chest. Every nerve screamed to call the police. But what would I say? Some hooded stranger is stalking me with photos of my cheating husband and his ex. Oh, and she left me a picture of myself sleeping. They'd write me off as hysterical, and part of me wondered if maybe I was. By morning, I was raw with exhaustion. Every creak of the apartment, every hum of the fridge made me flinch. Daniel called again. Left another voicemail. His voice cracked with desperation. Please, just talk to me. I don't want to lose you. I'll do anything to fix this. Just. Please. I wanted to smash the phone against the wall. But part of me ached at the sound of him. What if he was telling the truth? What if this woman was manipulating me, and yet the photo of me sleeping still sat on the table like a silent accusation? My phone buzzed again. A new message. The same unknown number. Unknown, now you see. You're not safe. Not with him. Not with her, I typed furiously. Me, how did you get into my apartment? A pause. Then, unknown, doesn't matter. What matters is what comes next. Me, what do you want from me? Unknown, to survive, you need to listen. Tonight. 10 p.m. Same place. Don't be late, my chest tightened. Each meeting with her pulled me deeper into this nightmare, but not knowing was worse. I had to go. That night, Pier 17 was colder than before. The wind whipped my hair across my face as I hugged myself tightly. She appeared again, like she had materialized from the shadows. This time, she didn't hand me an envelope. Instead, she pulled down her hood. I froze. Her face was sharp, pale, with hollowed cheeks and piercing eyes that seemed to strip me bare. Not a stranger, not entirely. I'd seen her before. In the background of a photo Daniel once showed me of Melissa's baby shower. She'd been standing off to the side, barely noticeable. Melissa's friend. You, I whispered. She nodded slowly. Finally. You remember. My stomach lurched. Why are you doing this? Why are you watching me? Because you need to understand who Melissa really is, she said, her voice steady, chilling. She's not just the tired single mother you think. She's a manipulator. She ruined me. She'll ruin you too. And Daniel. She trailed off, eyes narrowing. He's not strong enough to resist her. Then why involve me? My voice cracked. Why drag me into this? Her gaze softened for the first time. Because I know what it feels like. To love him. To lose him. To be replaced. My knees weakened. You were with Daniel? She didn't answer directly. Just looked past me, out at the black water, her expression carved in pain. You have to choose, she said finally. Fight. Or get swallowed whole. The wind howled around us, and in the silence between us, I realized something horrifying. This wasn't just about Daniel and Melissa anymore. This woman had her own story. And I was standing in the middle of it whether I wanted to or not. Back at home, I couldn't shake her words. Fight or get swallowed whole. I sat in the dark, staring at the photo of me asleep. My skin crawled, because no matter what she sighed, no matter how broken she seemed, one truth gnawed at me. She had been in my home, and if she could get in once, she could get in again. By morning, paranoia had rooted itself in my bones. I double-checked the locks, wedged a chair under the doorknob, even taped strands of hair across the seam of my front door to see if anyone entered while I was gone. But fear wasn't enough anymore. I needed answers. If the hooded woman was telling the truth that she knew Melissa, that she had been in Daniel's past too, then there had to be a trail. Something I could find without relying on her cryptic games. So I started digging. Melissa wasn't hard to track. A quick search of public records showed she'd lived in 3 different apartments over the last 5 years. All within the same few miles. No big surprise there, but then I found it in old court filing. A dismissed restraining order. Filed not against her, but against another woman. My blood ran cold. The name was blurred in the scan, hard to read. But it wasn't me. It wasn't anyone I recognized. Was it her, the hooded woman? I scrolled further. Attached notes mentioned disputes between former friends, escalating harassment, suspected obsession. My chest tightened. If Melissa had once tried to cut this woman off, then why was she now warning me about her? Or was it the other way around? I printed the documents and shoved them into a folder. But before I could think too much, my phone buzzed. Daniel. Again, this time I picked up. Finally, he breathed. His voice was wrecked. Raw. Please. Please, can we just talk? Face to face. No lies. I swear I'll tell you everything. I wanted to scream at him. To hang up. But instead I found myself whispering, then tell me now. On the phone. A pause. I can't. Not like this. It's too dangerous. The word made my stomach twist. Dangerous? From who? Just please. Meet me tonight. Somewhere public. I'll explain everything. I swear. I closed my eyes, torn between fury and exhaustion. One chance, Daniel. If you lie to me again, we're done. Forever. I won't lie, he said quickly. Not this time. When I hung up, my hands were still trembling. That evening, we met at a diner just outside town. The place was half empty, the smell of fried food and coffee thick in the air. Daniel looked wrecked, unkempt, dark circles under his eyes, desperation carved into every line of his face. He reached for my hands, but I pulled them back. Talk, I said flatly. He swallowed hard. Melissa. She's not who you think she is. I almost laughed. Funny. That's exactly what someone else told me. His eyes widened. Who? I hesitated. Should I tell him? Show my cards? Or keep the hooded woman's secret for now? I chose silence. Daniel rubbed his face. Melissa's manipulative. She always has been. When we were together, she controlled everything. Who I saw, where I went, what I did. I thought I escaped when we split. But she doesn't let go. She never does. I folded my arms. That still doesn't explain why you kissed her. Or why you've been hiding things from me. His voice broke. Because I was scared. Scared of losing my son. Scared of her twisting the truth and making me the villain. She's done it before, and she'll do it again. I stared at him, trying to read his face. Was this another performance? Another carefully crafted excuse? Or was this finally the raw truth? Before I could decide, he leaned closer. There's something else, he whispered. Something I never told you. Melissa. She's been following me. And I think she's having me followed too. My blood turned to ice. Daniel, I whispered, someone left a photo of me sleeping. In my own bed. His eyes went wide with horror. Then it's already started, he said hoarsely. What has? But before he could answer, the lights in the diner flickered. For a split second, every shadow seemed to stretch toward us, and when I glanced at the window, my heart stopped, because across the street, half hidden in the darkness, a woman in a hood stood watching us. The hooded figure stood so still across the street that at first I thought she was a shadow. But then a passing car's headlights swept over her, catching the pale outline of her face. It was her. The stranger. The woman who had slipped into my home. My chest seized. I grabbed Daniel's arm, my nails digging into his sleeve. She's here. His head snapped toward the window. The moment his eyes landed on her, his whole body went rigid. Jesus Christ, he muttered, his voice hoarse. You know her, I accused. He didn't answer. The hooded woman didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just stood there, her eyes locked on us, and then Slolish lifted her hand. A finger pressed to her lips in a chilling shh. My pulse hammered so hard I thought I'd black out. Daniel bolted up from the booth. We need to go. Now. Wait. I cried. If she's dangerous, we should call the police. He grabbed my wrist, dragging me toward the door. No police. Not yet. You don't understand. The diner door jingled as we stumbled into the cold night air. My breath puffed white, the neon sign buzzing faintly overhead. But when I looked across the street, she was gone. Daniel pulled me toward his car, glancing over his shoulder like a hunted animal. "Get in," he snapped. I yanked my arm free. "Not until you tell me who she is." His jaw clenched, his eyes wild. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. But then his shoulders slumped. "She used to be Melissa's best friend," he said finally. "Back when we were still together. They were inseparable. But then something happened between them. Something bad. Melissa never talked about it, but she changed after that. Bitter. Paranoid." The pieces clicked together in my mind: the photo of the baby shower, the restraining order, the stranger's obsession. "And you?" I demanded. "What was she to you?" His silence told me everything. My stomach dropped. "Oh my God. You were with her, weren't you? Before Melissa?" He didn't meet my eyes. "It was a mistake. Short-lived. But she never let it go. And when I got with Melissa, she hated her." I finished for him, my voice trembling. Daniel nodded grimly. "Exactly." The world tilted beneath me. Melissa, Daniel, the hooded woman, they were all tangled together in ways I couldn't begin to unravel. And somehow, I had walked right into the middle of their twisted history. A sudden tap on the car window made me scream. I spun, heart lurching. The hooded woman stood inches from me, her face illuminated by the diner's neon glow. "Get away from her," Daniel shouted, shoving the door open. But before he could reach her, she pressed something flat and cold against the glass. A flash drive. Her lips moved. "Just for me, watch it." Then she turned and bolted into the shadows. Daniel sprinted after her, shouting her name, though the wind snatched the sound before I could catch it. I sat frozen in the passenger seat, the flash drive still fogging the window where she'd pressed it. My reflection stared back at me, pale and trembling. "Watch it," Daniel returned minutes later, breathless, empty-handed. "She's gone," he muttered, slamming his fist against the car roof. His eyes darted to me. "What did she give you?" I hesitated. My instinct screamed not to tell him. "Not yet, nothing," I lied. His gaze searched mine, but I held firm. Finally, he exhaled sharply. "We need to be careful. She's dangerous. You can't trust her." The words echoed in my skull, but as I slid the flash drive into my pocket, one thought pulsed louder than the rest. "I don't trust you either." Back home, I locked every door, drew every curtain, and set the flash drive on the table like it was a loaded gun. Daniel's words echoed in my head: "She's dangerous." Don't trust her, but wasn't he just as dangerous in his own way? Wasn't he the one who had lied, kissed Melissa, tangled me in secrets? At least the hooded woman gave me something tangible. Something real. With trembling hands, I slid the flash drive into my laptop. Another file appeared. This time not grainy surveillance. Not distant photos. This was a recording. Melissa's voice filled the room instantly. "If he thinks he can walk away, he's wrong. He owes me. He owes us. And I'm not going to let her take him from me." My stomach lurched. Another voice chimed in. Daniel's. "Melissa, stop. This isn't healthy." "We can't," Melissa cut him off with a laugh that chilled me to the bone. "Healthy? You think I care about healthy? You think I'll let him grow up without a father? No. You're not leaving. Not for her. Not for anyone." The recording clicked off. I sat frozen, the silence screaming in my ears. Melissa. Sweet, weary, innocent Melissa. Was this who she really was? And Daniel hadn't sounded like a victim. He'd sounded complicit. Trapped maybe, but not innocent. I played it again, desperate to catch every word. Each time, the rage in Melissa's tone sharpened, and Daniel's weakness became clearer. The hooded woman was right. They weren't just lying. They were dangerous, but how the hell had she recorded that? Sleep was impossible. Every shadow in my apartment felt alive. I kept the laptop open beside me on the couch, replaying the file over and over. By dawn, one truth had taken root in my mind: I couldn't keep playing defense. If Melissa and Daniel were conspiring against me, against each other, I didn't know which. I had to find proof. Not just photos. Not just whispered warnings. Proof that could destroy them if I needed it. That morning, I drove to Melissa's building. My stomach churned as I climbed the stairs, every step echoing like a countdown. When she opened the door, her face lit up in surprise. "Oh. I wasn't expecting you." I forced a smile. "I just wanted to check in. See how you and the baby are doing." She hesitated, then stepped aside. "Come in. He's napping, but..." "Yeah. Come in." Her apartment smelled faintly of baby powder and stale coffee. Toys scattered the floor. It looked harmless. Ordinary, but when my eyes landed on the kitchen table, my pulse spiked. Papers. Stacks of them. I recognized the top page instantly. Legal forms. Custody paperwork. Melissa caught my glance and quickly shuffled them aside. "Just paperwork. You know how it is." I forced my smile wider, though my chest burned. We sat, sipping tea she insisted on making. She looked tired, worn, every bit the struggling mother she pretended to be, but all I could hear was her voice from the recording. "I'm not going to let her take him from me." Her eyes met mine suddenly, sharp and unguarded. "You're spending a lot of time with Daniel lately," she said softly. "Be careful." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" Melissa's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just don't let him fool you. He's not as loyal as you think." The words twisted like a knife, because she wasn't wrong, but hearing them from her, the woman who had kissed him, who still clung to him, made my blood boil. I finished my tea quickly, forcing pleasantries, then excused myself, but as I stepped into the hall, my phone buzzed. A new message from the unknown number. "Unknown, she's lying. Check under the crib." My breath caught. I glanced back at the closed door. The baby's room was just beyond it. Under the crib, what the hell would I find there? The hallway felt like it was closing in around me. My phone burned hot in my hand, the message seared into my mind. "Check under the crib." My instincts screamed to run to get as far from Melissa's apartment as possible. But curiosity, fear, and something darker pulled me back. If there was something hidden under that crib, I needed to see it. I waited until the hall was clear, then pressed my ear to Melissa's door. Silence. No footsteps. No voices, heart hammering. I turned the knob slowly. It clicked open. She hadn't locked it. I slipped inside. The apartment was dim, curtains drawn. A faint creak of pipes rattled through the walls, but otherwise, silence. The baby's door was ajar. I held my breath and pushed it open. The crib sat against the wall, soft toys tucked neatly inside. The baby slept soundly, tiny fists curled near his face. I crept forward, every step a thunderclap in my ears. Kneeling, I lifted the dust ruffle and peered underneath. My blood ran cold. A metal lockbox. I reached for it, but a floorboard groaned behind me. I whipped around. Melissa stood in the doorway, her face pale and unreadable. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice low, steady. My mouth went dry. "Two dropped something. Thought it might have rolled in here." Her eyes flicked to the crib, then back to me. She stepped closer, slow and deliberate, like a predator cornering prey. "You shouldn't be in here," she whispered. I straightened quickly, brushing past her. "You're right. Sorry. I should go." I nearly sprinted out the door. My skin crawling with the weight of her stare. Back in my car, my hands shook violently as I gripped the wheel. A lockbox. Under the crib. What the hell was Melissa hiding in there? My phone buzzed again. "Unknown. Did you see it?" I typed back furiously. "Me. What's inside?" A pause. Then, "Unknown. Proof. Everything you need." Me. "How do you know?" "Unknown. Because I put it there." I froze, my stomach dropping into a pit of ice. The hooded woman. She had been inside Melissa's apartment too, that night. I couldn't stop thinking about the box. About Melissa's sharp eyes catching me in the nursery. Was she suspicious now? Did she know I'd seen it? Sleep refused to come. I tossed, turned, every shadow in my apartment shifting into the outline of that hooded figure. Near midnight, a sound jolted me upright, a faint scrape. At my door, I crept forward, heart pounding. When I peered through the peephole, my blood turned to ice. Melissa, standing outside my apartment, her eyes locked directly on the peephole. as though she knew I was watching, and in her hands, the lockbox. For a long, breathless moment, I couldn't move. My eyes stayed glued to the peephole, my entire body rigid with terror. Melissa stood perfectly still, the lockbox cradled in her arms like it was a child. Her expression was unreadable, neither soft nor angry, just waiting. Then, slowly, she raised her hand and knocked. 3 sharp raps. I staggered back from the door, my mind racing. Ignore her? Call the police? Open it and face whatever game she was playing. Another knock. Louder this time. Open up. Her muffled voice floated through. Calm. Almost pleasant. We need to talk. I swallowed hard, every instinct screaming no. But something deeper, some desperate need for truth dragged me forward. With shaking hands, I slid the chain across, cracked the door just enough to peer out. Melissa's eyes found mine instantly. They were dark, steady, but there was something brittle in them too. I thought this belonged to you, she said, holding the box out. I blinked. What? Under the crib. Where I found it. I thought maybe Daniel gave it to you. Or. She did. My chest tightened. She. The hooded woman. I opened the door wider, though my hands stayed tight on the frame. Why are you bringing this to me? Melissa sighed, stepping inside uninvited. She set the lockbox on my coffee table with a dull thud. Because I don't want any more secrets. Not between us. Her words made me laugh harsh. Bitter. You kissed him, Melissa. You've been meeting with him behind my back. And now you show up here like we're allies? She flinched but didn't deny it. I'm not proud of what happened. But you don't know everything. Then tell me, I snapped. Melissa's hands hovered over the lockbox. Her voice dropped. The key's gone. But I think you should see what's inside. You deserve that much. I stared at the box. Heavy. Plain. A simple lock holding it shut, and suddenly, I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a hammer, and brought it down with a crack. The lock snapped. Melissa didn't move. Just watched as I lifted the lid. Inside were papers. Stacks of them. Some crumpled, some neatly folded. And beneath them photos. The first paper I pulled out was a birth certificate. My heart stopped, not the baby's, mine. My hands shook violently as I read my own name, my parents' names, the familiar details. Why the hell would Melissa have that? I rifled deeper. Medical records. Employment history. Old addresses. Every detail of my life, collected and stored neatly in this box. My breath came in sharp gasps. Why do you have this? I screamed. Melissa's face crumpled, pain flickering across her features. Because she gave it to me. My blood ran cold. Who? Her eyes locked onto mine. The woman you've been meeting. She was my friend once. She told me you'd ruin everything. That you couldn't be trusted. My knees weakened, the room spinning. Why me? Why any of this? Melissa shook her head. I don't know anymore. All I know is she's dangerous. More than you realize. And if she's watching you. Her voice broke. Then none of us are safe. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. A new message from the unknown number. Unknown, good girl. You opened it. Now you see. I looked up at Melissa, my voice trembling. She knows. Melissa's face drained of color. Another buzz. Unknown. It's time you learned why you were chosen. The room felt like it was shrinking, every shadow pressing in closer. My phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with that same nameless number. Melissa, and I stared at it like it was a live grenade. Don't, she whispered. Don't answer. But my thumb moved on its own. I swiped open the message. Unknown, meet me. Alone. You want answers, you'll come. A second message followed, almost immediately. Unknown, bring the birth certificate. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure Melissa could hear it. She wants me to meet her, I whispered. Melissa shook her head violently. No. No, you can't. That's how she gets you. That's how she owns you. Owns me? I snapped, my voice cracking. She has my entire life in a box under your crib. How long has she been collecting on me, Melissa? How long have you been playing her game? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know it was you she was after. I thought she broke off, clutching her arms like she was holding herself together. I thought it was Daniel. She told me he was lying. That he was dangerous. That if I didn't do what she said, she'd take my son. The words hit like stones. We were both her pawns. I staggered back, staring at the birth certificate in my hands. Why the hell would she want this? Melissa caught my eye, her voice trembling. She knows you. She's known you longer than you think. I froze. What do you mean? Melissa shook her head. She never told me her real name. Just that she'd been watching. That she had history with you. With your family. A chill ran up my spine. My family. My parents. My phone buzzed again. Unknown, midnight. Pier 17. Come alone. Or Melissa pays the price, Melissa gasped, reading over my shoulder. Her face drained of color. She knows I'm here. We both whipped our heads toward the window. The curtains were drawn. But I swore I saw the faintest ripple in the fabric. Someone had been watching. The hours leading to midnight stretched on forever. I paced, clutching the birth certificate like it might explain itself if I stared hard enough. Melissa begged me not to go. But when I looked at her, pale and trembling, I knew I had no choice. This wasn't just about Daniel anymore. Or the affair. Or even Melissa. It was about me, about a truth someone had buried deep enough that it was worth stalking, threatening, destroying lives to protect. By the time midnight drew near, my decision was made. I drove alone, the city lights blurring as my mind raced. Every corner of the night seemed darker than usual, every figure on the sidewalk a potential threat. When I reached Pier 17, the air was thick with salt and rot. The water slapped against the wood, rhythmic, taunting, and there she was, the hooded woman, standing at the edge of the pier, her silhouette sharp against the water. I clutched the certificate tighter, my throat dry. Why me? Why are you doing this? She turned slowly, lowering her hood. And for the first time, I saw her face. My knees nearly buckled, because I knew her. I knew her eyes, her mouth, the scar along her jawline. She wasn't a stranger, she was family. Her hood fell back, and the world tilted beneath me. I hadn't seen that face in years. But it was burned into my memory, etched in every photo my mother kept hidden in a dusty shoebox in the attic. My aunt, Clara, except Clara had died, or at least, that's what I'd been told. Why you? My voice cracked, words tangling in my throat. You're supposed to be dead. Clara smiled faintly, though her eyes were sharp and cold. That's what they wanted you to believe. That's what they told you, isn't it? The birth certificate trembled in my hand. Why are you stalking me? Why all of this? Her expression hardened. Because your parents lied to you. Lied to both of us. And Daniel's part of it too. My stomach flipped. Daniel? She stepped closer, the creaking pier groaning beneath her boots. You think he just happened to stumble into your life? You think it was fate, love, chance? No. He was chosen. Placed. Her words hit like ice water. What are you talking about? I demanded, my voice shaking. Daniel works for them, she spat. For the same people who ruined me. Who stole my son. Who erased me from your life. He's not your partner. He's your handler. I shook my head furiously. No. No, that's insane. But deep inside, a sick coil of dread tightened, the secrets. The evasions. The way he always seemed to know more than he should. Clara's eyes softened briefly, like she saw the fracture in me. You felt it, haven't you? That nagging sense he wasn't really yours. That he was reporting back to someone. That's Why he was with Melissa. That's why he's been feeding lies into your life. Melissa, the baby, my mind spun, piecing together fragments I didn't want to believe. You're lying, I whispered, though the words felt weak even as they left my lips. Clara leaned in close, her breath hot against my ear. Ask him about Project Halcyon, she hissed. Ask him why he really chose you. Then you'll see who's been lying. I stumbled back, shaking. No. I don't believe you. Her smile returned, cruel and knowing. You don't have to believe me. But when he comes for you, and he will remember I tried to warn you. The pier creaked again. I turned sharply, but she was already retreating into the shadows. Clara! I shouted. My voice cracked, swallowed by the water and wind. Clara, come back. But she was gone. I stood there, clutching the birth certificate, the night pressing down like a weight. My dead aunt was alive. Daniel might not be who he claimed, and I was in the middle of something much bigger than betrayal. When I finally staggered back to my car, my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Daniel, we need to talk. Urgently. Don't tell Melissa. I stared at the screen, my pulse racing. Clara's words echoed in my skull like a curse. Ask him about Project Halcyon. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. By the time dawn painted the sky in streaks of gray, my eyes were bloodshot, my head pounding from hours of replaying Clara's words. Daniel isn't yours. He's your handler. The phone buzzed again. Another message from him. Daniel, please. Meet me at our spot. Noon. I'll explain everything. Our spot. The park bench under the oak tree where he first kissed me. Where he'd promised forever. Now it felt like a trap, but I couldn't ignore him. Not after Clara. Not after the box, the threats, the birth certificate. If Daniel had answers, I needed them. By noon, the park was buzzing with joggers, kids on swings, couples strolling hand in hand. Normal life. Safe life. But when I spotted Daniel sitting on the bench, my heart clenched. He looked older somehow. Tired. Like he hadn't slept either. When his eyes found mine, relief flooded his face. Thank God you came. I stayed standing, arms crossed. Talk. He gestured to the bench. Please. Just sit. I didn't. Instead, I pulled the birth certificate from my bag and tossed it onto the bench beside him. His face drained of color. Where did you get this? He whispered. Clara gave it to Melissa. Melissa gave it to me. Or maybe you already knew that, since apparently you work for whoever's been pulling the strings. His head snapped up, panic flashing in his eyes. No. It's not God, it's not what you think. Then tell me what the hell Project Halcyon is. I spat. He froze. Completely, his lips parted like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. You know, I pressed, stepping closer. Clara told me to ask you. She said you'd finally crack if I did. So talk. What is it? And don't you dare lie to me again. His hands trembled as he ran them through his hair. He looked broken. Halcyon. It was a program. Years ago. Government-backed. Classified. His voice was low, urgent, like he feared the trees themselves might overhear. It was designed to create control groups, families, manufactured environments. To study loyalty, compliance, betrayal. To test how far people could be pushed before they broke. My chest tightened, bile rising in my throat. You're telling me my life is an experiment? He winced. Not just yours. Hundreds. Thousands. Your parents signed up without even realizing what they'd agreed to. Clara, she tried to expose it. That's why they erased her. That's why you were never supposed to see her again. The ground tilted beneath me. You're lying, I whispered, but the words sounded empty. He shook his head violently. I wish I was. But it's real. Halcyon never ended. And you were one of the key subjects. Tears blurred my vision, hot and stinging. So what are you, Daniel? My partner? My lover? Or just another one of their plants? His eyes met mine, raw and desperate. I was assigned at first. Yes. To watch you. To report on you. But it stopped being about them a long time ago. I love you. That part is real. A scream ripped from my throat, raw and guttural. People in the park turned to look, but I didn't care. You don't get to say that. I shouted. You don't get to tell me this was all some twisted project and then hide behind love like it fixes anything. Daniel reached for me, but I recoiled. Please, he begged, his voice cracking. If Clara's back, if she's contacting you, it means they've lost control. She'll burn everything down. And if you're with her, they'll burn you down too. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with trembling hands. Another message. From the unknown number, unknown, he's lying again. Meet me tonight. Bring the certificate. Leave him behind. Or you'll never know the truth. I looked up at Daniel, his face etched with fear, and for the first time, I realized I might not survive choosing wrong. The park spun around me in dizzying circles, children laughing, dogs barking, couples strolling while my entire world collapsed in on itself. Daniel sat there, pleading eyes locked on mine, while my phone still glowed with Clara's command, leave him behind. Bring the certificate, 2 paths, both dangerous. Both poisoned, you need to decide who you are. Daniel said softly, like he could read my thoughts. Are you the woman I love, or are you their experiment? The words carved through me. Don't, I hissed. Don't twist this into romance. You lied to me from the start. He leaned forward, voice breaking. I lied because I had to. But everything between us, what we built, it's real. Tears threatened, but I shoved them back, rage scorching hotter than grief. If you ever loved me, Daniel, then tell me everything. Don't protect them. Don't protect me. Just tell me the truth. His jaw clenched. His gaze flicked to the people around us, then back to me. Not here. It's not safe. I almost laughed. Bitter, hollow. It hasn't been safe for a long time. I walked away. My legs moved on autopilot, carrying me down winding streets, past shops and cafes that now looked like sets in some cruel simulation. Was that all my life had been? An experiment? A test to see how far I'd been before I shattered? By the time I reached my apartment, I was shaking. My reflection in the mirror looked alien, eyes wild, hair disheveled, skin pale. I barely recognized the woman staring back. The phone buzzed again. Unknown, midnight. Same place. Alone. Do not trust him. I clutched the device, heart hammering. Clara's voice echoed in my memory. Daniel's your handler. He was placed, but Daniel's eyes at the park, broken, desperate, were burned into me too. Who was lying? Who was using me? Maybe both. That night, the hours ticked by like knives slicing through my nerves. I packed the birth certificate into a plain envelope. My hands trembling, when midnight came, I left the apartment, the city's darkness pressing heavy against my skin. But I wasn't alone. As I reached the corner, a shadow detached itself from the alley. Daniel, I told you, he said, voice urgent. Don't go to her. She'll twist you. She'll use you. Please, just trust me one last time. I froze, torn in half. In one pocket, the envelope with the certificate. In the other, my phone buzzing again with Clara's message, unknown, choose. Him or me. There's no middle ground. My chest constricted, breath ragged. Daniel reached for my hand. It's us. It's always been us. But Clara's words sliced through. If you're with him, they'll burn you down too. The city hummed around me, cars rushing past, neon signs flickering, the world still moving while mine splintered apart, and in that moment, I realized the cruelest truth of all. No matter who I chose, I'd already lost. The city stretched out around me, alive with neon and noise, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. Daniel's hand hovered, inches from mine. His eyes begged me to trust him. To forget Clara. To forget everything I'd just learned. my phone buzzed again in my pocket, Clara's warning pulsing like a heartbeat. Choose. Him or me. No middle ground. The envelope with my birth certificate felt heavy against my thigh. My life. My past. My future. I closed my eyes. Breathed once. Twice. Then I made my choice. Move, I whispered, stepping back from Daniel. His face fell, devastation flickering like a crack in glass. No. Don't do this. I can't trust you, I said, my voice shaking. Not after everything. You lied from the beginning. You were placed in my life. That means you were never mine. He shook his head violently, tears gathering in his eyes. I'm not theirs anymore. I haven't been for years. I love you. Doesn't that count for something? I turned away, my throat raw. Love built on lies isn't love. I started walking. Please, Daniel's voice cracked behind me. She'll destroy you. I didn't look back. The pier was deserted when I arrived. Midnight hung heavy in the air, thick with the smell of salt and rust. Clara was waiting, hood down, her face half-lit by the flickering lamppost, when she saw me. Her lips curved into something like triumph. You came. I held up the envelope. I brought it. Now tell me everything. She took the envelope carefully, almost reverently. Her eyes softened. You've made the right choice. Daniel was never yours. He belongs to them. But you belong with me. The words made my stomach twist. I don't belong to anyone. She smiled faintly, shaking her head. Not yet. But you will. Before I could respond, footsteps echoed on the wood. I spun, my blood freezing. Daniel. His chest heaved with ragged breaths, his eyes blazing with something between fury and heartbreak. Don't listen to her, he shouted, his voice raw. She's using you. Everything she says it's poison. Clara's expression hardened instantly. He followed you. I told you he couldn't be trusted. I stood frozen between them, the envelope now in Clara's hand, the truth just out of reach. Daniel stepped closer, his voice breaking. If you love me, if any part of this was real, come with me. Leave her. Clara's hand brushed my shoulder, gentle but firm. If you want answers, stay. Tonight, you'll learn why you were chosen. My chest ached so badly I thought it might split open. Two people. Two liars. Two truths, and me, caught in the center. The pier shuddered under the weight of three lives colliding. Clara's hand pressed steady on my shoulder, Daniel's footsteps pounding closer, his voice ragged and pleading. Step away from her. He shouted. She's not who she says she is. Clara's laugh was low, sharp as glass. Still lying, even now. Tell her, Daniel. Tell her what you really are. Daniel's jaw clenched, his fists tight at his sides. I already told her the truth. No, Clara hissed. You told her your truth. The one they trained into you. But the rest? You're too much of a coward to say it. The air between them crackled, every word pulling me deeper into the abyss. Enough. I screamed, my voice tearing through the night. No more riddles. No more half-truths. I want it all. Right here. Right now. Both froze, their eyes snapping to me. Daniel's chest heaved, and for a moment, I thought he might actually break. His voice dropped, hoarse and trembling. I was sent to watch you. That part's true. But it wasn't just Halcyon. It wasn't just the program. His eyes glistened. It was because of her. My stomach flipped. What? Clara's face darkened, her grip on my shoulder tightening. Don't you dare. Daniel's voice rose, urgent, desperate. She's not just your aunt. She's your mother. The world ripped sideways. What? The word tore from me. Broken and raw, Clara's nails dug into my skin. Lies. More lies. But Daniel shook his head violently. No. Your parents raised you because she couldn't. She was part of Halcyon from the start. When she defected, they took you away and erased her. That's the truth. My breath came in shallow gasps. No. That's not no. But something inside me, some deep, buried instinct told me it wasn't a lie. Clara's eyes burned with fury. They stole you from me. They filled your head with their poison. But I came back for you. I've always come back for you. Daniel took a step closer. She's manipulating you. She'll drag you into her war and get you killed. The wind howled across the pier. Waves crashing harder. Clara's hand slid from my shoulder to the envelope with the birth certificate. She held it high like proof, like scripture. Everything you need is here. Everything they've kept from you. Come with me, and you'll finally be free. Daniel reached out, palm open, his voice breaking. Come with me, and you'll finally be safe. My chest burned, split wide open. Love. Blood. Lies. Truth. The choice pressed down like a blade against my throat, and then, from the darkness at the far end of the pier, came a sound that froze all three of us, a metallic click, followed by a voice I didn't recognize, hands where we can see them. Floodlights blazed to life, blinding me. Dozens of figures in black tactical gear surged forward, weapons raised. The world erupted. The pier blazed with white light, shadows scattering like frightened animals. My eyes burned, tears streaming as black-clad operatives fanned out, weapons leveled. Drop it. One barked, laser sights cutting across our bodies. Clara stiffened, clutching the envelope tighter. Daniel stepped instinctively in front of me. Hands raised, don't shoot. He yelled. She's not part of this. She doesn't know. The operative cut him off. Orders are clear. Secure the asset. Eliminate the rest. The asset. My stomach dropped. They were talking about me. Clara's eyes widened, panic and fury flashing all at once. No. No, you don't get to take her again. She lunged, dragging me backward, the envelope pressed to my chest. Gunfire exploded, splinters flying from the wooden planks. Daniel tackled us both to the ground, shouting something I couldn't hear over the deafening blasts. My ears rang, the world dissolving into chaos, boots pounding, bullets shattering wood, water spraying from shattered boards. I scrambled to my feet. Disoriented. Clara yanked me toward the far end of the pier. Daniel grabbed my arm, pulling the other way. Come with me. He shouted, his face twisted in desperation. No, come with me. Clara screamed, her nails biting into my skin. The gunfire closed in, operatives shouting commands. I was being ripped in two, my mother or the man who claimed to love me, blood or love, the truth or safety, choose. Clara screamed, choose. Daniel echoed, and then, beneath my feet, the pier gave a sickening groan, the wood splintered, the world dropped, I fell, cold water swallowed me whole, the envelope torn from my grasp, the gunfire muffled by the sea. The last thing I saw before the dark closed in was Clara and Daniel both reaching for me before the waves dragged me under.